A massive weather system moving across the middle of the country, going to bring snow for some, rain for others, storms for some. We'll talk about what it means for us here in Alabama. Your full forecast coming up.
Then a community now mourning the loss of a teenager after a deadly shooting in Bessemer. Plus, President Jimmy Carter's funeral procession travels through his hometown in Georgia. How the 39th president is being honored.
Live, streaming, and on the ABC 3340 app. This is ABC 3340 News Weekend.
Good evening, I'm Megan Scarano. We have the chance for a lot of impactful weather over the next week, from severe storms to potential winter precipitation. Meteorologist Evan Chikvera is in for us tonight. Evan, let's get right to it. You're tracking several systems for us.
Yeah, we got this setup that it seems like when we get it's very, very cold. And over the next several days, we will indeed have the cold, along with the potential for some wintry precip. Let's start with what's happening right now, because today was one of those days where you open the door, it just never really got that warm. Highs topped out in the 40s. We're now down into Coleman, 41 here at Birmingham. Overnight tonight, look for an increase in clouds. And again, I'm not expecting much in the way of rain, but we very well could have some light rain by the start of the day on Sunday. So here's your early riser planner. If you're headed out to church early in the morning, if you just like to go for a walk, a run, a cold rain is going to greet us in several spots. But the bigger story is going to be what comes later in the day. Could we have a few strong thunderstorms? That's a possibility. We'll talk about where and how cold it gets. And hey, the big question, where's the snow? The answers to that in your full forecast coming up.
And if you need some place to stay during the bitter cold weather next week, there are multiple warming shelters opening across central Alabama. The Jimmy Hale Mission in Birmingham will open Monday through Thursday. In Tuscaloosa, the Compassion Coalition has a warming station open through January 13th. To learn more details, you can contact them at the number you see right here on your screen. Talladega has a shelter as well at the Spring Street Recreation Center. They will be open on days where the temperatures drop below 32 degrees. The city of Homewood is collecting supplies to support local warming stations. You can drop off items like coats, gloves, and blankets at Fire Station Number 1 in Homewood by Tuesday, January 7th. And the Jimmy Hale Mission in Birmingham is also collecting supplies as well. They're also accepting winter clothes, blankets, and some food items like snack bars and fruits. Tonight, a heartbreaking update to the breaking news we brought you on Friday. A 13-year-old boy was shot and killed in Bessemer while he was inside of a home. The boy was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. ABC 3340's Olivia Goche has been working for you all day today to learn more information. Olivia, what can you tell us?
Megan, Bessemer police were called to the 1200 block of 13th Street North last night, responding to a call that a 13-year-old boy had been shot. Community members are calling it a tragedy. The mayor of Bessemer also calling the two homicides just 4 days into the new year unacceptable.
He's a human being, and just a child, and his life taken from him. And I hope they catch the ones that done it.
Community members in Bessemer devastated. A young child's life now gone. James Taylor says he has lived at his home in Bessemer since 1985, right next door to where Friday night's shooting took place.
When I woke up this morning, I didn't know that I had just went to bed. My sister called and said the police cars were everywhere around here. And I found out this morning a 13-year-old was shot and killed.
Bessemer Mayor Kenneth Gully released a statement Saturday saying, in part, "It is with a heavy heart that I extend my deepest condolences to the Cheney Thomas family as they grieve the devastating loss of their loved one due to gun violence." He adds that law enforcement will exhaust every resource and avenue to bring those responsible for this heinous act to justice. Police tell us that the initial investigation shows the child was inside the home when an unknown suspect or suspects shot into the house. A scary situation that leaves residents like Taylor concerned for their own safety.
Hopefully they'll catch the ones that done that. I hate to live in a neighborhood where you're afraid to go out in your yard. I feel for the family over there, and I pray that God will comfort them.
At this time, the Bessemer police say there are no suspects in custody. It is also unknown whether this was a targeted shooting. We will, of course, continue to stay with this story for more answers. Live in the newsroom, Olivia Gauthier, ABC 3340 News.
And 2 arrests have been made in connection to the New Year's Eve homicide in Birmingham. Birmingham police say Ernest Christian Jr. was fatally stabbed at a home in Inslee. The suspects are identified as Zingy and Laverne Gamble. They are mother and son. Police say Zingy was Christian's boyfriend. She is believed to have stabbed him during an argument over money. The search continues for the missing toddler Caleb Collins. Multiple law enforcement agencies returned to the home once rented by the Collins family on Thursday. Caleb's mother, Wendy Pam Bailey, has a court appearance scheduled for January 15th. Her bond has now been increased to $2 million. The state of Alabama is seeking to have bond denied under Aniah's law. The Birmingham Police Department needs your help finding a person of interest related to a man's disappearance. Jared Jones was first reported missing in December. Detectives now believe foul play was involved after learning Jones did not show up for work. Police have identified Tony Anderson of Centerpoint as the person of interest in this investigation. If you have any information on where either of them may be, please call Birmingham Police. The Birmingham Police Department also needs your help in finding 33-year-old Brandy Lewis. She has not been seen since December. Investigators say she was moving to a new area of Birmingham when she went missing. Lewis previously lived in North Birmingham, according to the police department. If you have seen Lewis or have any information on her location, please call 911 or Crime Stoppers. In West Alabama, a man is now charged in a deadly shooting in Pickens County. Russell Bede of Fayette is charged with murder. The shooting happened on Thursday on Watermill Road. Deputies found a man shot to death. A Lamar County deputy spotted the suspect's vehicle about 15 minutes later. Officials say Bede was driving fast before he wrecked. He was then taken into custody. Police are also investigating a Friday shooting in West Jasper. A victim was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police immediately determined a suspect, and that person was taken into custody. President Joe Biden rejected the deal between U.S. Steel and Japan's Nippon Steel. The $14 billion acquisition was opposed by both President Biden and President-elect Donald Trump. Blocking this deal could have local implication on Jefferson County's economic landscape. U.S. Steel is a staple of the Fairfield area. For generations, it supplied jobs in Alabama.
Since I was a kid, grew up in Bessemer, and a lot of people that have lived in Bessemer worked at Fairfield. It was one of the biggest employers, I believe, during that time, too.
President Biden sticking to his early campaign promise of preventing the deal for Nippon to buy U.S. Steel, citing national security interests, is a cause for concern for Jefferson County.
This deal could have potentially led to some increased investment in the local facility. So we're pretty concerned with the news, and we'll be watching very closely the decisions made by U.S. Steel moving forward.
U.S. Steel says Nippon took actions to address concerns that could be raised by the Committee of Foreign Investment in the United States, including prohibiting the transfer of any production and jobs outside the U.S. and guaranteeing that production capacity at U.S. Steel's facilities across 5 states, including Alabama, would not be reduced for a decade without approval.
That facility that U.S. Steel has here locally has a lot of potential for increased capacity. But we're going to have a steel manufacturer in that facility that is willing to make the commitments, the investment.
Back in September, U.S. Steel warned without the deal, it would largely pivot away from its blast furnace facilities. U.S. Steel closed the blast furnace in Fairfield back in 2015, then installed the first electric arc furnace for the entire company in 2020. It's that upgrade that gives hope for the future of the site, but for now, Jefferson County will have to wait and see what U.S. Steel does next.
I don't see them ramping down the operations that they have in Fairfield. I do see them continuing those, at least in the short term. What we're concerned about is what's going to happen 10, 15 years down the line.
I did reach out to U.S. Steel with questions about what this would mean for their Fairfield site. They directed me to their statement where they said they were dismayed by the president's decision. The company plans to take the appropriate action to ensure a future where U.S. Steel will be able to compete and thrive. The father of Georgia head football coach Kirby Smart, Sonny Smart, has died. Sonny Smart died early Saturday due to complications from hip surgery after falling ahead of the Sugar Bowl. He died surrounded by family at the Ochsner Medical Center. This is not related to Wednesday's attack on Bourbon Street. Flowers and candles line Bourbon Street in New Orleans as family and friends come to mourn the 14 lives lost. Federal agencies are now warning law enforcement across the country to be on high alert for copycat attacks. ABC's Christiane Cordero has the latest on the investigation.
Just days after that terrifying truck attack in New Orleans, Bourbon Street is showing signs of returning to normal. The music is back. But the victims of that New Year's Day tragedy have not been forgotten. The street now lined with flowers, crosses, and photos to honor those who were killed, including 21-year-old Hubert Guthreau, whose family visited the memorial, 25-year-old Bill DeMaio from New Jersey, who was in town for the Sugar Bowl game, and 18-year-old aspiring nurse Nikira Dado.
I don't understand why somebody could do something like this. We were all out on New Year's Eve having a great time. We were celebrating life, and this happens, right? It's horrible.
Investigators are now looking into the international travel of Shamsuddin Jabbar, the 42-year-old man suspected of carrying out that deadly attack. His half-brother Abdur tells ABC News Jabbar traveled to Egypt for about a month in 2023, telling his family he was going because it was cheap and beautiful. Sources tell ABC News crucial to the investigation is whether he was radicalized prior to the trip or if the travel marked the start of his radicalization.
What I can tell you right now is that he was 100% inspired by ISIS.
The ATF also searching a house the suspect rented ahead of the attack. Investigators say he tried to set a small fire in the hallway in his effort to destroy the house and other evidence of his crime. But officials say evidence has been recovered, including bomb-making material. Sources also tell ABC News the FBI found bomb-making materials inside the suspect's North Houston home. New Orleans city officials were warned in a 2019 confidential security assessment that broken blockades made Bourbon Street vulnerable to a vehicle attack. The city began installing new barriers, but that work hadn't yet been completed. Crews are now working to get those barriers installed. Officials say getting the bollards fully functional is an urgent priority. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, New Orleans.
Las Vegas authorities revealed new details on the New Year's Cybertruck explosion outside the Trump International Hotel. Police say they found notes inside a 37-year-old Matthew Livisberger's charred phone detailing a possible motive for the explosion. He was a decorated Green Beret but was currently on leave. The FBI says he suffered from PTSD and was going through family and personal grievances.
He says, fellow service members, veterans, and all Americans, time to wake up. We are being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich themselves.
Despite the chilling event being carried out in a Tesla truck and outside the Trump Hotel, the notes uncovered Livisberger's support for Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Republican Mike Johnson is reelected as House Speaker after a dramatic vote. House Republicans also pushed through new rules protecting a newly elected House Speaker from being ousted. Previously, any single member from any party could trigger the removal process, but now a motion to vacate will require approval from at least 9 members of the ruling party. This is a look inside the Carter Presidential Center in Georgia, where former President Jimmy Carter lies in repose. The procession carrying President Carter today traveled along rural roads in South Georgia, where he spent much of his life before heading to Atlanta ahead of a state funeral in Washington next week. ABC's Faith Abube has the details.
Former President Jimmy Carter's family looking on as his casket draped in an American flag was escorted by current and former members of the late president's Secret Service detail. The motorcade then passing through his beloved hometown of Plains, Georgia, on its way to the Georgia State Capitol in Atlanta. Crowds lining the route to pay their final respects.
Present.
The procession pausing at Carter's boyhood home. A bell there rung 39 times in honor of the 39th president. The motorcade then traveling to Atlanta for several memorial events, beginning with a stop in front of the Georgia State Capitol, where Carter served as a senator in the mid-1960s and governor from 1971 to 1975. Several state and local elected officials greeting the procession for a moment of silence, including Governor Brian Kemp and Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens. The former president will lie in repose at the Carter Center until Tuesday, before traveling to Washington, where he will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol. His longtime friend, President Joe Biden, expected to deliver a eulogy during a service at Washington's National Cathedral on Thursday. President-elect Donald Trump also saying he plans to attend the service. Jason Carter, one of the former president's 12 grandchildren, will speak about his grandfather.
We will spend this week celebrating this incredible life, and a life that I think we can all agree is as full and powerful as any life can be.
And after that state funeral in Washington, D.C., Carter's remains will be flown back here to his hometown of Plains, Georgia. He will be buried next to his wife, Rosalind Carter, of 77 years. She died just over a year ago. Faith Abube, ABC News, Plains, Georgia.
You leave an incredible mark, and I mean this sincerely, this group up here, you leave an incredible mark on our country with insight and influence that can be felt around the globe in major cities and remote areas alike.
Today, President Joe Biden awarded the Medal of Freedom to 19 people. It's the highest civilian honor in the U.S. Today's recipients include former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, actors Denzel Washington and Michael J. Fox, as well as billionaire Democratic donor George Soros. According to the president, those chosen have made exemplary contributions to the U.S., world peace, and other significant causes. Drivers in Tuscaloosa County can soon expect lane closures starting on Monday as AlDOT works to replace 15 bridge decks along I-2059. The repairs will take place at various locations going westbound near milepost 64 to exit 71. AlDOT says one lane will be open at all times, and officials say the project is needed to maintain the bridge decks and improve safety on the road.
It needs to be repaired. So you may have potholes, you may have things to where if you're driving across a bridge, it's bumpy. And by us doing this, it makes it a little bit of a safer and smoother drive.
AlDOT says lane closures will continue throughout the summer months.
Man, summer months, that sounds great right about now with some Arctic air on the way. Here's our view of Birmingham this evening. Obviously, sun's gone down, temperatures on the way down, but there's something interesting going to happen here tonight. More clouds are going to move in, and we actually might warm gradually, especially if you are west of I-65. We will have winds shifting to southeasterly, and that will gradually have a warming trend as we head into the day on Sunday. Also going to bring about some showers as we go through the first few hours of the day. We do have a severe threat with the system coming through tomorrow, the greatest of which is over the Mississippi Delta, parts of Louisiana, and then central Mississippi, while we have a marginal threat here in central Alabama. So here's our timeline for it. 8 p.m. to midnight for places like Haleyville, Hamilton, Winfield, Jasper, Fayette, Tuscaloosa, Utah, Greensboro, Demopolis. From 10 o'clock to 2 a.m., the Birmingham Metro, Aniana, Coleman, Alabaster, Pelham, Thorsby, Clanton, Centerville, Bibb County. And then as this moves off to the east, the idea is this is going to be weakening. So this in general should not be a very high severe weather threat for us, but it's something that we always watch closely. There's really good dynamic support. We have a lot of wind shear. We just don't have a whole lot of instability. So we expect a weakening trend with this line. So let's show you the evolution of this. I want to go to the big picture starting Sunday morning. And if you're out and about early, if you go to early church service, if you are going shopping because the kids are headed back to school this week, we are going to have some cold pockets of rain throughout the day on Sunday. None of this is of really any thunderstorm. This will just be shower activity. It's going to be windy tomorrow. We're going to have southeasterly winds 10 to 20 miles an hour. It's going to be very breezy. And then as we get closer to the evening, there's the line in question here. But I got to say, if you have this rain out ahead of the line, as we've talked about before, this is a stabilizing agent to the atmosphere. So if we have the rain, if we have temperatures in the 50s all day, there's just not going to be a whole lot to work with as this line comes through. So we'll pause this now at about 9 o'clock, depicting a line from Russellville south to Aliceville, Livingston at about 9 o'clock. We move it ahead to midnight. Now it's stretching from, say, Gadsden down through Calera back to Selma. And we expect what we'd call like a decaying with this line where it just weakens over time. Still some heavy rain. And then look at what our temperatures do. As soon as this moves on through, I mean, we drop down very quickly to the freezing mark. We're out the door on Monday. It's just going to be downright cold, a raw winter day, a lot of cloud cover, and we will see the potential for a few light snow showers. No major accumulation is likely expected with this, but several models are picking up on that, so we may see some light snow on Monday afternoon. Don't think it's going to be a travel issue. Do not think this is going to have an impact on the roads. Of course, we'll tell you if that changes. Here's a look at our wind chill. This is what I think is important. It's going to feel like we're anywhere from like 18 to 22 for the first half of the day Monday. I mean, this is our wind chill factor. Your feels like at noon on Monday. It's going to be cloudy, a few snow flurries, and windy. So get ready for that. If you got that thermal liner jacket, have that ready to go. This is a cold we only see usually once a year if we have it. So our next weather maker, the potential for snow. That's been the big question here. So we're going to have a coastal low. This is the perfect setup to get snow, but these often develop a warm front. Notice to the south we have upper 30s. To the north we've got temperatures closer to freezing. Depending on the track of this low and the strength, we will either get a very cold rain or we will get some snow. Now on the back side of this, by Saturday with some wraparound moisture and colder air, we could have some snow showers Saturday afternoon. Still plenty to watch. So go through the models really quickly here. This is the GFS, the latest run depicting the potential for up to maybe a half an inch in the northern half of Alabama. Keep in mind, this is the model that's been very aggressive with snow. This is the one that's called for several inches at times. So the GFS has had a bias towards more snow. The European has been much more reserved in the totals, and as you can see here, putting really any meaningful snow well to the north of us here in central Alabama. This is an ensemble. This is a collection of models, model runs rather than just one, and that's depicting our best potential for snow is going to be, of course, up in the northern quarter of the state, but as much as maybe a 40 to 50% chance of an accumulation of 1 inch down to Highway 278. Again, this is something we'll be watching very closely. For now, here's what I would say. Very cold following this frontal system. If there's anything severe, it'll be a cold week, and then we'll keep an eye out for a wintry mix Friday and Saturday.
Well, you can scan the QR code right here on your screen to get access to the ABC 3340 weather app to keep up with all this winter weather. The app gives you access to live radar, James's weather blog, and the 7-day forecast. We have one more thing before we go tonight. The world's oldest person died at the age of 116. Tomiko Aituga passed away at her nursing home in Japan. She became the oldest living person in August of 2024, following the death of a 117-year-old woman. Aituga was born in Osaka in May of 1908. Aituga's family credited her active lifestyle, which included hiking and climbing, for her longevity. Well, that's all the time we have for the news at 6. The EOG wrap will air tonight at 10 with Jess Beagle on your TVs. Have a great evening.